Nap extension. Lots of people ask how they can get their little one to nap for longer. So perhaps they're waking a bit too soon, they're not getting a full enough nap. Usually that means they wake up quite miserable, crying, groggy, and it's because they're not really done napping and they need longer. And a really classic length of time for this is sort of 30-40 minutes. They haven't even completed a sleep cycle, they've just completed the deep sleep part of a cycle, and they're finding themselves awake and they don't want to be awake but probably don't know how to get back to sleep, or at least they're struggling. So how can you extend naps? What's the magic fix? If only there were one, hey? Well, I've got some tips for you on how to work on nap extension. If you're going to do this, you really do need to have some plan in place for helping your child learn how to self-settle. So either they already can self-settle or it's something you are working on with them in their night sleep. So assuming you have that underway, let's look at extending those naps. So the first thing is to try to resettle them when they wake. So when the child wakes up, instead of just accepting that as the end of the nap, if it is considerably too short, then go in and respond as you would a night waking. So let's pretend that your little one just woke and it was 11 p.m. How would you respond then? Respond in the same way to that early wake up from a nap, with the aim to resettle that nap. Only difference being, in the night time, when we respond and help to resettle, you keep going for as long as it takes. There's no limit. You don't try for a certain amount of time and give in. You just keep going as long as it takes. Whereas with a nap, you can't really do that. It's a bit different. You've got a daytime routine, there's meal times to factor in, and it would just throw the schedule of the day. So instead of just carrying on indefinitely with your response plan, just give it an hour limit. So I would definitely give it a good 40 minutes of trying, because it might take that long. But if you've been trying for at least 40 minutes, or if you get to an hour of trying, then it might be time to say, okay, it's not happening. It's just not happening this time. We've given it a good shot. It's time to reset now. So if that happens and you don't get a resettle at all, then I would step out of the room, wait for 60 seconds, and then come in a daytime purposeful, we're getting up approach, as opposed to when you come in and you're very much back to sleep kind of response. So you want to come in with a different response. The purpose of stepping out for a minute and then coming back in again is to give that different response. Otherwise, all your child's learning is that, yeah, you come in and you try and resettle me, but after a while you're going to get me up. And so to avoid giving that message, you just want to do that 1 minute, just 60 seconds out of the room, and then come back in with that different response, so that they can see the way you enter that room has an outcome attached to it. Okay, so try for that resettle for up to an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. If it doesn't happen, then get them up. So what do you do then? So if there's no resettle and you get them up, you need to then have a backup plan. So that could either be that you say, okay, well, they didn't have their full nap, they had a partial nap, so we'll just bear that in mind and bring their next sleep time forward a little earlier. Or you might say, you really need sleep right now, and so you go to a backup plan of a motion nap, which may be in the pushchair, pram, car, something that gives them that motion to lull them off, if they're one that will take that. Some will nod off straight away with the motion, others it doesn't help them. If they've taken the edge off too much with their part nap, they might not go off so easily. Others will. If they're just the right level of tiredness and you get them out, it might be good timing. So somehow or other you need to top up that sleep, and I would use either motion or bring the next sleep forward earlier. The next thing is if you do get a resettle. So if you say you go in, you respond like I said, you're helping them to resettle, and it takes you 20 minutes, half an hour, but they do resettle. Brilliant. So then they've gone back to sleep, you can high five yourself and see what happens. Now perhaps it took you half an hour, but they went back to sleep, and then they only sleep for another 15 minutes, and you're going to think, all that effort to just get another 15 minutes and they still haven't had enough sleep, what do? Well, there's little point in trying for another resettle. Unless your child's really, really sleepy and you know that it won't take much and you know that a very quick bit of reassurance they'll be back off to sleep, then absolutely go for it. But it's certainly not a time to then battle with another major resettling ordeal. The good news is they've resettled a broken nap. So you got that resettle. It might not have been for very long. The whole nap quota might not have been had, but you helped them, they did it. They did a resettle of a broken nap. That's another practice, it's another notch. They've done really well. Next time they'll probably settle more easily and it will become an easier thing for your child to do. So just count it as good practice. If they're awake again, you're welcome at that point to go, right, let's get up, and then carry on with your day. And again, be prepared for that next sleep to come a bit sooner than it might have had they had more sleep for that nap. So that's what to do if you do get a resettle of some sort. And don't think it's a waste, that time you invested in helping them do that resettle is really worthwhile, really, really worthwhile, even if it's not to get much more sleep from them. It's something. Really, really good practice. If you get some resettle, take it. If you get no resettle, backup plan straight away. If you get, let's say, they sleep for a bit longer and they finish off the nap, then that's brilliant too. What I want to say to you really is it's so important to work on this daily. So whether your child's a 1 nap, 2 nap, 3 nap a day kind of stage, it's really good at least once a day to practice this approach, to practice resettling those broken naps, practice that nap extension. You might just want to pick 1 nap a day. Say they do several naps a day, you might want to just pick one. Pick the one that's the easiest, the one that's most likely to happen, which usually is going to be earlier in the day as opposed to later, because in the afternoon and the sort of later in the afternoon, they get more fractious and it is harder for them to settle. So I would opt for one that's kind of more easy on them, less hard work, so that they can practice that ability and get better at it. And then if you want to up the ante and try it on, a couple of naps a day, if that's what you're doing, then that's fine too. But the main point is that every day your child or your baby gets exposure to this response and to this process and to going through those motions. By going through those motions every day, they're getting practice every day, and that practice is going to lead to a built up skill, and then in time they'll be able to just resettle themselves. Or as they resettle, they might not even stir at that time. They might actually glide through that sleep cycle much more smoothly and knit that together with the next sleep cycle really smoothly without being disturbed. So it's really worth practicing every day. If you don't see immediate results, don't worry. You might have been at this for a week, 10 days, and you think, I'm still not getting any better settles yet. Bear with it, it will click and you'll suddenly go, there it is, it's paid off, it was worth it. So you've got to stick with it even when you don't feel like it's going anywhere, because I assure you that practice will make perfect.